All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. We're here today with Mr. Benjamin Gorman. How are you doing today, Benjamin?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. And how are you doing today, Nick?
I'm doing pretty good. I pulled something in my back, so I'm feeling a little iffy, but I'm making it. I'm making it.
Old
Excited
man
to be talking
vibes.
to Ben here.
Old man
Yeah,
vibes. Dig
for
it.
sure.
All right, yeah. So if you guys aren't familiar with Benjamin, he's a professional copywriter, copy editor, and consultant. He's been writing content for a little bit over 10 years. He's worked for some major brands, including Hotels.com, Norton LifeLock, and Purple Mattress. He's a contributor for Matt Diggity's Affiliate Lab, and he was a speaker at the SEO Mastery Summit in Saigon earlier this year, which is where Nick and I got the pleasure of meeting him, and we actually attended a little, I guess they called it a workshop, where Benjamin and Kevin Mang talked about content for a bit before the conference. And that's where we
Yeah.
met. And yeah, did I miss anything there, Benjamin?
I think that about sums it up.
Cool. Yeah, and as we talked out before, I'm gonna go ahead and truncate the name to Ben now, if that's all right with you.
That's perfect. Yeah, easier.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, so so we can get to know you a little bit better. Yeah, where are you currently based out of?
Right now I'm in Prague, and I love Prague. That's actually this is where kind of my content journey began, like all those years ago.
Interesting.
Um, I moved here in 2013, and that's where I met Kevin Mang, and we were both young English teachers
Oh
and
yeah.
future content writers. And I had been doing some content at the time, which was my first content experience working for a travel blog,
Hmm.
which got some pretty good exposure. Um, and yeah, I've kind of made this my home ever since. I got blocked out for a couple of years during COVID because I was stuck in Vietnam, which was not a bad thing. But I
Yeah,
try to spend about half a year here. Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, you don't really hear too many SEOs based out of Central Europe. But yeah, I think I'd actually heard that that Kevin was had been living in Prague as well. Um, yeah, it's just kind of an interesting place. And I was also an English teacher. I got into SEO while I was teaching English as well as a as a way to escape. So I
Yeah,
guess
it
it's
happens a lot. Yeah.
yeah, a common escape path. I think maybe Kyle Roof was even teaching English for a bit, or
I
was
think
he
Matt Diggity was potentially as well. I think a
really?
lot of
Yeah.
those I think a lot of those Chiang Mai guys came over and taught English and then they got into SEO.
All right, so yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get into AI content for SEO, which is what we're here to talk about. Um, so I guess we can start with issues. So what are some of the main issues that you're seeing these days as far as yeah, people using AI content on their websites and yeah.
I think that, you know, right now, people in the SEO industry are very, very excited about the prospect of AI. Like right now, we're in the AI boom.
Hmm.
And this has led to a lot of people being unrealistic about the capabilities of the tool. So one of the most common things that people do is they overestimate the ability of the AI. So like it's easy to do because you see this tool that you're typing something in and it's just giving you all these answers, and it's easy to convince yourself that it has some sort of intelligence, right?
Hmm.
But really, the only thing that it's doing is predicting the next word based on the previous word and based on your prompt.
Yeah.
So there's not really intelligence there, and once you start to fool yourself into believing that there is, then you can end up with a lot of bad content and bad data. I think like really like right after ChatGPT was released, like CNET started, which is a huge site,
Yeah.
started writing their content with AI. And they're like, oh, we are writing our content with AI and we're editing it, so don't worry. And then like a couple months later, it was found that like over half of their articles were had factual inaccuracies in
Hmm.
them,
Cool.
because they didn't think about the AI as like, okay, it's actually just trying to satisfy a prompt and it's predicting the words. So it had all these hallucinations in it.
Yeah.
And that can be common now. Um, and getting kind of SEOs get tempted, right? Because we've talked about content velocity so much over the last years, and how important content velocity is. And now you have a tool that's like, oh, guess what? You can produce thousands of articles a
Yeah,
month, for very little cost.
for
Um,
sure.
so we're like starting to value velocity over quality, right?
Yeah.
And if you talk to any of like the like SEO gurus, any of these guys who like, no, this is how you do it. This is how you rank. This is how you become an authority. They will almost always tell you like, okay, quality of your content is the most important thing. Content is king, and that's pretty much how it is still today. But when you get wrapped up in the numbers and spreadsheets, and you're in these echo chambers and meme chambers where people are talking about statistics and velocity and stuff, it's kind of like if I tell you like, what would you rather have, like a house or 1,000 doll houses? you know
I guess it depends how much a
Well,
thousand
how
dollar
much are
houses are
the,
worth.
yeah, thinking like a salesman.
Hopefully, even if they were valuable doll houses, they probably are not as
No,
useful
yeah,
or valuable as an actual house, right?
for sure.
Um,
Probably.
but if you've been in a community that like for a long time that's been convincing you that like what the most important thing is like house velocity, then you might choose the doll houses over the real house.
Well, I don't think it's
And I'm
so
not
much.
saying that,
I don't think it's so much the idea of velocity, though. It's more like the idea of like, hey, okay, I have a website that has 100 pages, and I'm earning, say $1,000 a month or something. Well, now it's not going to take me a year to get to, just to write another 100 articles or whatever. Now I'm going to write 400 articles in a year or 500
Yeah,
articles in a year.
yeah, at a
Um,
yeah,
fraction of the cost.
so yeah, it's not so much like what
that's the right way to think
I
about
mean,
it,
it
though.
is velocity in a way, but not velocity for velocity's sake. It's more like I can grow my site really big and make more money um,
Yeah,
faster than
yeah,
normal,
and I think, yeah,
which it
and
sounds
that's
like you're
that's a
doing as
positive.
well, right? Um,
But yeah, but that's the positive. You can definitely use the AI
mhm,
to increase your output, right?
mhm.
But when I'm talking about the problems, I'm talking about
Yeah,
what I see is these people who are like, I'm producing 100 pieces of content a day,
Yeah, for sure.
and that, I
Little
mean,
spammy.
yeah. So of course, like, what my course is about is like, okay, here's how to responsibly use the AI to speed up your output to produce good content. Because I'm not against the idea of content velocity. I think content velocity is a real thing. But a lot of the people who have success with content velocity are actually producing good content, you know?
mhm,
And what people can forget is like that good content aspect and focus too much on the um, number of pages, the number of
For
articles.
sure.
And
Absolutely.
what AI is doing is it's kind of tempting people into putting a lot more importance on the number of articles than on the quality of
Gotcha.
articles.
No, yeah,
I mean,
100%
I
agree with that.
yeah, I can't lie and say I didn't try and do that and then of course strike out through low quality content.
Yeah.
Initially, yeah, as soon as you get wind of it, it's like, all right, well, let me just go ahead and see how spammy I can get and find my threshold. But
Yeah,
yeah, quality is still always going to win.
for sure.
Especially if we look at like data in the SERPs after putting up a bunch of a lot of just lower quality kind of stuff. It's not going to resonate the same way as stuff that was obviously worked on, edited really well, and then
So
it's
Yeah.
not going to convert as well either.
So going back to the idea of quality, Benjamin, um, do you think so? You had mentioned that you're now using one writer. You got rid of all your other writers. You're using one writer with the help of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So would you say, and I know you probably do some other stuff, but and we'll get to that later, but would you say the overall quality of the content that you are producing now is higher or lower level than it was before?
Oh, it's higher now. It's higher now, because like this is my own money that I'm spending on this website,
Mhm.
so um, before, I had a team of writers, but like a lot of people in this industry, like I didn't have enough. I didn't have the money to pay like writers such as myself who are too expensive for people who are also like me. So I was working with some lower paid writers who were okay, and I was editing their content, and it was time consuming. But once the GPT-4 came out, it was like, okay, the AI is better writing better content than the people that I'm hiring.
Yeah, that's what I was
Um,
kind of getting at is that, when you're talking about these lower end riders, even kind of lower to mid tier, I mean, you do have to edit it. Do have to take out like the redundancies and fix the factual stuff. But in general, I mean, it seems yeah, pretty good if you're actually going in and
yeah,
not just copy pasting.
yeah. I mean, you still can't go in, yeah, and just generate an article and put it on your website, but like the standard of even like grammatical correctness that I was getting from the AI was better than what I was getting from the writers. And of course, there's the consistency as well.
Yeah.
I was working with 5 writers from different parts of the world.
Hmm.
Like it's difficult to, and they're not, a lot of them, they're not communicating in English all the time. So it's hard to get that tonal consistency, that voice, where it's a lot easier to do that with the AI. Um,
That's a good point.
so
That's something I feel like people don't really talk about too much. Yeah, tonal consistency, but also like you had mentioned the grammar. Because like grammar in general, like it was just, yeah, working with, more budget writers, whatever. Grammar itself would just take a huge time if you're, and if you're editing their work. Um, yeah, just that alone is kind of insane.
yeah, it was a chunk of time, but with the AI now, I can, I had an I can pay an editor to use prompts that I've developed and resources that I've developed to generate the articles, and then edit the articles, add variation, um, you know, from a human perspective, humanizing the content,
Hmm.
and then it comes out. It comes out pretty good. You know, I still
Nice.
like we can't afford to get a lot of it because I pay the editor to do the work, but it's cheaper than it was before, and I'm happy with the quality.
Nice. Um, yeah, so speaking of the editor, like what do you think, like what do you when you're trying to find an editor, like what do you look for? And yeah, you don't really have to go too much into the editing process quite yet. We'll get to that in a bit, but just as far as the making a hire for an editor.
Yeah, this is tough right now because the job of like AI content editor, it doesn't really exist, right? Like we're in a new realm of AI. You
Hmm.
can't find anyone that's like, oh, I've been editing AI content for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking for someone to edit AI, like I think the best thing that you can do is look for somebody who's also a good content writer. What I've seen a lot of SEOs saying is like, oh, and this is another issue. They're saying, oh well, now the AI can write the content, so I just need a niche expert to edit the content.
Hmm.
But that's not correct in my opinion, um, because the AI can give you those facts and figures. I can ask the AI how like a how does a transistor radio work,
Hmm.
and the AI will give me that information. Um, sorry, close so we don't get bothered.
All good.
Yeah, sorry, my Facebook
Yeah, no
was
worries.
being. I'm a bad guest. Um, but yeah, the AI will give you like the facts and figures, the stuff that somebody who's an expert can do. Like, so I can get a lot of that raw information from the AI, and
Hmm.
it'll be accurate. Um,
Mhm.
if I ask like, oh, how do you how do you how do you shoe a horse or something? I don't know anything about that, but the AI can tell me that, and it'll be pretty accurate, right? That basic information. But I
Mhm.
need somebody who actually knows about content writing best practices. Like, how do you engage the reader? How do you do the research to understand who the target market is? How do you express benefits in a way that connects to the target? How do you craft a CTA? All this stuff that like a good content writer or a good copywriter should know how to do. Like, that's the stuff that you want to look for in an editor as well. Especially because when you're talking about AI content, AI is not going to be able to adequately communicate with your target. So you need a human to be like, okay, well, this is our target reader, this is our target market, and I need to adapt the AI's, kind of irrelevant examples, or the AI's kind of baseline level copywriting in order to appeal to my actual readers. So yeah, I would look for skilled content people over niche experts, in my opinion.
Awesome. And I know you are working on Duck Boom. It's Duck Boom, right?
Right.
Rabbit Boom. Rabbit Boom.
Oh, Boom Rabbit.
Boom Rabbit.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you're working on Boom Rabbit. But so for the time being, before that's released, how are you finding these content writers or editors, whatever you want to call them now?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's you can find writers in a number of different places. Sometimes I go to Fiverr. That tends to be pretty easy to find someone. Upwork, I tend to avoid. And then putting ads in like Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups for content writers, like Cult of Copy, Job Board is a popular one. But if you're looking for content writers that are maybe more skilled, you can look in like even SEO groups, because like us content writers, we hang out in the
Oh, Nick, are you there?
you can, if you're looking for a cheaper writer or editor, you can look for one in targeted Facebook groups or job-seeking websites. Like, there's entire groups for like just content writers from Pakistan. There's entire groups just for content writers in the Philippines.
Gotcha.
So those are all good options.
Now, why do you avoid Upwork? Just out of curiosity.
I don't really like kind of the hoops you have to jump through, and I don't like that they keep raising their rates or their like commission. I also I have packages and stuff on Upwork. I offer my services on Upwork as a freelancer. But personally, I've found it easier to interact through Fiverr with they take fees too, but I found it easier to interact with writers through that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I think we can go ahead and well, I guess, but before we really get into it, how much of the AI written content, like if you had to guess a percentage, just like for example, 50% AI written to 50% human written, like what percentage of the content do you think needs to be edited so that can you give me a ratio of like human written to AI written content when it comes out to be this good quality content that you're talking about here?
Yeah, it's tough to say, really. Like, it depends on the type of content, depends on your prompt. I tend to do a lot of edits for the content that I write. My clients have high expectations because they pay decent money for their content. And so for some of my clients who ask me not to use AI, then I don't use AI. But I try to use it when I can, just because it's kind of the future. But for generally, I would say you should probably be rewriting like at least 50%.
Gotcha.
And
that's pretty much what I'm doing, probably about 50% edits.
I think it's kind of funny. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, I was just saying, I think it's kind of funny, you know, when people, especially right now, are saying that they're so opposed to AI written content, when the fact of the matter is, I feel like a lot of the content you're getting around the internet is going to be, you know, at least partially AI generated. If not like, you know, part of the article, then at least some of the ideas. And I think that's going to become more and more common. So it's almost like, you know, we don't want you doing that, but at the same time, you know, it's kind of becoming part of the game, so to speak. It's kind of like, well, I don't want you buying backlinks, but you can procure them in ways that don't go against TOS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah,
wants to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's I think as people are saying, what if we're talking about Google, because that's what everybody cares about when it comes to generating AI content. It's like Google cares about quality, right? And that's why you're having, that's why AI content's being de-indexed, is because Google's determining that the quality is not there, right? And it's not worth taking the time to index the pages. And so I think, yeah, focusing on quality is very important, more important than focusing on AI. But at the same time, unedited AI content
Oh yeah.
is not high quality content.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's a lot of people out there focusing on content detection, AI detection, and things like that. But even that, like, you can have a terrible article that passes AI content detection, and most of the internet is composed of terrible human written articles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, so AI can be useful if it's used responsibly.
So I think this next question kind of starts to get into kind of the meat of what we're here to talk about. You're all about humanizing AI copy, which, editing it, making more suitable for the reader. But I guess before we get into that, or maybe you can kind of address this at the same time, but what do you think quality content is as far as how Google sees it? And yeah, what do you mean by humanizing AI copy?
Well, I would say that quality content, is dependent, I'm not an SEO, so I can't say like, oh, quality content has this many links and this and that. I'm on the qualitative end, doing content.
Gotcha.
But according to, what Google wants, which is authority, which is people producing content based on, real knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Quality content is content that effectively communicates with the target, so with the reader,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're communicating, because content is communication, so I tell people, like, stop writing content, start communicating with the reader, right? um, and so effective content communicates. It tells the reader, gives the reader what they want, and it communicates with them in a way that produces value, so that they will act on that. Um,
Gotcha.
and yeah, so that's quality. So I can't tell you like, oh, well, in an introduction you should do this, because quality is completely dependent on who is reading. So the most important aspect is to never forget that you're communicating with someone who's reading the content, and the better you can connect with them, the more high quality your content will be.
Gotcha. So by humanizing, you mean adapting the content to better communicate to the target rather than just the kind of junk that the AI spits out.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. Humanizing is like a simple concept related to like AI, because the humanness of your content is the X factor, right? Because when people are generating content with AI, whether they're using Jasper or Zimwriter or these different content generation tools, or they're
Mm-hmm.
just using ChatGPT, like all of that technology is OpenAI's technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything behind the scenes is OpenAI. So everyone, they're using different prompts, but they're all producing content that's like pretty much here.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to create better content, you need to find the uniqueness factor. And the only thing that can take this baseline of, AI to the next level is to add that uniqueness of like being a human. Only a human can do that. So when I say humanizing, it's taking the bar that the AI has set and adding humanity to it, real communication, so that you can kind of go above that bar and make your content better than just like baseline AI.
Gotcha. So apparently, for all the things that AI can do, it's not too good at communicating in a way that we like to be communicated to. It kind of just like spits out facts in a very
Yeah.
organized and methodical way, is the way I kind of see it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so can you walk us through kind of step by step how you think AI content should be edited?
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I'm going to go through some of the basics. This is exactly what my course talks about, and I go through like detailed step by step, and then I show kind of an over the shoulder of me actually doing every step, writing a full article. Um, but I can give you kind of a nutshell view of it.
For
Um,
sure. And what's your course called again?
Yeah.
it's called the AI Copy Editing Crash Course.
Cool.
So
And
yeah,
is that available now, or is that coming out in
it's
the near
available.
future?
It's available now, and
Awesome. Cool.
hopefully, link will be available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so without giving away, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
AIcopycrashcourse.com, correct?
Yeah.
For
Yes.
anybody listening? Okay, cool.
All right, so yeah, give us the spark notes. Give us some juice though. Don't, tease us too much. Give us
I'll
some.
give you some, yeah, I'll give you some good stuff. All
Okay.
right. So, when you're editing your AI, editing AI content, it starts with content generation because, first you want to learn how to generate an article that makes it easier to edit, because the whole process of editing is to like speed up your writing process and to finish with better content than you would have before.
Hmm.
So it starts with prompting the AI to deliver an article that has the basic information that you need and none of like the kind of fluff that AI delivers that you would otherwise want to cut out.
Hmm.
So I start by generating an outline if I don't already have one, and then you generate like a succinct copy of your article. So that's going to be, you want a 2,000 word article, but this article is going to be, it's going to be a lot shorter than that.
Hmm.
Because you're asking the AI to do what the AI is best at doing, which is delivering like facts, structure,
Hmm.
and like the basic information. So it's kind of nice because you're like, you can look at this mini article that has like no tone, it has no examples, it has no fluff. It's just the information, and you're like, okay, like I see the blueprint here.
Hmm.
I don't have to do that myself, right?
For sure.
Um, yeah, and then you can go in from that point and be like, okay, well, what is this missing, right? Um, and it helps if you know some content writing best practices. But even like a lot of SEOs do know, but an issue they have is they go into the article. They can only really assess an article once it's already been written. So they get a writer to write an article for them, and they get it back, and they're like, "Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this?" But they're not very effective at communicating that in the first place. So generating an article with AI is helpful because then you can be like, "Oh, okay, I can see that I like this stuff. I don't like this. Now what's missing?" So the next step is to go through each section and be like, "What do I want here? Well, I want this tone. Oh, I want this benefit. Oh, I want this about my, I want to communicate this to my target. So I'm going to put an example here. Do this, do that." And then going back in to the AI again and reprompting it to include the stuff that you want into your articles, right? Or into each section, and then you go section by section and you prompt the AI again. And I saw your podcast with Robert Nichol, and I'm probably butchering his last name, but
Nichol,
I'll do.
I think I said it.
Nichol. And he was he was talking about prompting section by section, and that's
Hmm.
exactly correct, because the more targeted you prompt, the more precise the output. So you can go through and reprompt to get
Hmm.
and then you end up with more of an article that's kind of like it's got the tone, it's got some benefits, it's got some stuff that you like, but this is still AI output, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're like, oh, give me a benefit and give an example, it might have given you something, and you're like, oh, that sucks, like I don't like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But now you know exactly where it is in the article, and you
Mm-hmm.
know what you need to replace, right? So yeah, then you have your final AI draft, and you can go in and do a little bit of fact checking, a little bit of surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and that's where you do your human edits in that last step. Um, so you already have an article at that point, and yeah, it cuts a good 50% of your time, if not more, um, out of writing an article.
Gotcha. So what you do, let's see if I get this right. So you get AI, first of all, to write things section by section. Then you go and you cut out the fluff, or just kind of the stuff that was real bad or whatever. Then you go ahead and you have it reprompt for additional information in each section.
Not exactly in that order. So first, I generate like a bare bones, as direct as possible article
Mm-hmm.
uh, with all of the sections that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so it might only give me like two sentences
Gotcha.
per each two or something,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I'm telling the AI, I'm like, be as direct and as possible. Don't be wordy. Be succinct. Whatever.
Gotcha.
Um, so yeah, and then you you make notes about what you want to include in each of those super succinct sections to flesh
Mm-hmm.
it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go back to the AI and you reprompt
Gotcha.
each
Something I've been
section.
doing, and maybe you do this as well, is so basically I'll have a section, it'll be kind of a short section, and then I'll go over to GPT 3.5 and be like, give me a bullet point list of things that I could talk about in this section. And so yeah, I'll have like a paragraph of like GPT-4 that I kind of clean up a little bit, and I'm like GPT 3.5, give me this bullet point list of stuff, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I want that, and I'll just add and then be like expand on this, and then add that in like in that way, and then again take out more fluff as needed.
Yeah, yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
similar.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this is more based on, I mean, when you're generating ideas and stuff, like yeah, you can go to ChatGPT, you can put it in, um, you can put your content in, your succinct content into the AI and be like, oh, what should I add to this to make it more engaging? It'll give you some suggestions, and then you can go with that. Like for me, I already know what I want to be in there.
Hmm.
I know what's missing. And so for some people who really know who know their customers, or who know their readers, maybe they have those copywriting skills already, and they can just plug them in. For other people, it might be more helpful to prepare the document, give it to a writer or an editor. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of ways that you could. The course is a not doesn't teach copywriting, right?
Hmm.
So it doesn't really teach the skill of oh, what should go into the introduction. It's more teaching the process of like here's how to standardize. Here's a standard process for copy editing AI. That you
Gotcha.
can use. You can implement your skills into this, or you can give this to your writers. You can give it to your editors, and you can take your copy chops, and then you can
Awesome.
apply this system, and it allows you to create content faster, more effectively with AI.
Gotcha.
Nice.
And just to back up a little bit, what are you doing for outlines? Like, how are you doing your outlines for the article before you pass it through GPT for the first pass?
Um, so what you can do is just ask ChatGPT to build an outline for you, and that's totally fine. I think I would recommend that people go in with an outline that they've made themselves.
Mhm.
But if you don't have an outline you've made yourself, then you can go in and ask ChatGPT to create an outline. I personally would, you know, also give it some instructions about like things that you might want in the article. So I'll go in and be like, oh, create an outline for this topic and please include sections on this and this. So then I'm then at least it's not like the most generic thing ever, right?
Gotcha.
Um, and also another tip for outlining, which I like to do a lot, is to find ranking articles on Google, copy and paste them into ChatGPT, into your prompt. And if you have space, you can just copy and paste like the entire article or one or two articles
Mhm.
and ask ChatGPT to build you an outline for a new original article based on those articles. So then if you're trying to outrank, um, some other articles, you can have it build you a new one based on existing articles, which I find to be fun and useful.
Gotcha. That's pretty much what we're doing anyway. Get some existing ranking articles, see what their outlines are like, throw all that in there, maybe add some additional stuff, and then start writing with GPT, organize it a little bit better maybe, and yeah, add in some unique stuff, make it a little bit different. Yeah, so what kind of results are you seeing from this kind of process? I know maybe the biggest result, and we don't even have to really talk about SEO results, but maybe just like production results. And I guess the biggest result is the one you'd already mentioned, which is that you downsize the staff of your entire writing team down to one writer. But yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think that it depends on who you are, right? So like for me in the position of being a content manager for this site, like I'm saving so much time myself, because just like interacting with multiple writers is very time consuming. And training one person and having them produce the content with with good editing skills is a huge time saver. And this process is it's easy to teach and easy to repeat, and also easy to check and evaluate to make sure that people are doing it. So like if my editor, if you know I don't work with them anymore, and I need to find somebody else, I know that I can just be like, okay, I'll just implement these processes with a new person, train them on them, and I can have a competent person working for me again in like a few days. So that's a huge benefit for people who are creating their own content. You save a lot of time, and that's why I created this process in the first place. Because when I decided that I was going to explore AI, and I was like, oh, I want to keep my job, so I better not learn how this stuff works.
Yeah,
Uh,
Smart.
but yeah, so the content that I was generating was just not good enough, right? And it isn't good enough. But what I found myself doing basically was like rewriting the whole article, and I'm like, I'm not saving any time, you know. So I have to figure out a way to prompt the AI better, to get better results, and then to standardize the editing process so I can create like good human articles around a structure where I'm kind of just filling in the blanks, right? Um, and so yeah, I mean, what would take you 4 hours might take you now like an hour and a half or 2 hours. I mean,
mhm,
it's not a one-click solution,
mhm.
but it does save a lot of time. I just sold, the course to a guy who, he's starting a business, and he is doing his own content, and he was like, oh, this is, you know, I I I know the information. I'm an expert in my niche, but like I don't have the content writing skills. I'm not used to it. It's taking me all day to write one article. And then he was like, oh, well, now that I have this, like I have a set of instructions I can follow, and produce content much more quickly. Um, so yeah, there's various benefits, but I would say one of the biggest benefits is time saving,
For
Sure.
sure,
quality control as well.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, so now that AI is here and there's no avoiding it, and I'm glad you've been able to pivot a little bit in your job, so you're not homeless or anything. But yeah,
Um,
what do you see as far as the future goes, as far as content and AI and all that?
well, I think that what we're seeing now happen is like this issue of like content quality inflation, right?
Hmm.
So we're seeing like a new low bar set, which is much higher than it was before because AI is delivering this baseline of content quality, right?
Hmm.
And so I think people are kind of rushing to get there. Um, and a lot of people think that that's a really good thing. But because all of these AI tools are very affordable or free, once we reach this baseline of content quality, once it gets inflated up to this level, people will be searching for ways um, to make it better than the other AI stuff, right?
Hmm.
So I think there'll be right now like there's a lot of writers who are hurting, who are losing their jobs, but I think once once everybody in the industry is using AI, then people will be searching for ways to make their AI content better than the other AI content. And I think there's going to be a big push for people desperately seeking like human AI editors who are efficient and who can reliably improve the quality of their AI content.
For
Um,
sure.
in terms of quality,
No,
that's what I
sorry, go
think. In
ahead.
terms of SEO, it's hard to say.
Gotcha. This kind of backs up a little bit, but going back to the humanization of everything. One thing you see a lot of people talking about is um, they feed in like parameters to the AI for writing along the lines of, I want you to write in this style. I want you to use this tone. I want you to, or even they'll feed it an article that someone already wrote and be like, I want you to write like this person,
Yeah.
um, this kind of thing. But as for you as an actual, copywriter or, professional content writer, are you using AI to do that at all, or are you leaving that to the editor? And then so you would just be using AI as basically like the structure and the meat, and then you're going in and adding that extra whatever percent that you were just talking about.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like when I'm on the site that I'm managing, like I want the tone to be uniform, and so I do have the editor prompt the AI to achieve a tone that I want, a uniform tone. And it helps that the website is new, so I don't have to try to reproduce a tone from before. I
Hmm.
can start from this tone, right? Yeah, we tweak it. We have to tweak it, because sometimes the AI does stupid things or says stupid things that are, don't really appeal to the audience. Um, for, but it all comes back to like communication, right? So I would say that the AI is pretty good at setting again like a baseline for tone. So it can be a good thing, to personalize the tone as well. So what the AI is really good at is like linguistic stuff. So formal and informal, right?
Hmm.
So like I don't like this tone. Can you do it 25% less formal? You know,
Interesting.
that
I've never messed with numbers
works.
like that. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, it works. Or personal or impersonal. So like when you're talking about like pronouns, right?
Hmm.
So when you write with a second person pronoun like you, that's going to be more personalized. So if I'm writing, oh well, you can do this. Have you ever been? Opposed to like a third person where like um, you know basically just using no personal pronouns.
Hmm.
When people go to the gym, sometimes they find it easier to do this instead of when you go to the
Gotcha.
gym.
Yeah.
So that sort of pronoun stuff, that grammar stuff, like ChatGPT is really good at that, and you can be like, oh, use personal pronouns, and then that'll just make your tone feel like way more way more personal.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, that's something
yeah.
I've been doing, except I didn't even know to call them personal pronouns, even though I was an English teacher. I would be like,
Uh,
use the word you so that
yeah.
it sounds like a benefit that they can have themselves rather than just explaining the features like a
Yeah.
robot. I don't know.
Do
My
what you
prompt
have
my
to do.
prompts
Like
suck.
that's good advice. That's good advice though. Like because with like people when they prompt they go really crazy with it. Because they think like, oh, prompting is oh, the prompt should be really really long and it should be really detailed because the more longer and the more detailed prompt, like the more accurate the output. That's not true.
Yeah, I feel like
Like
that's wrong actually. It's like the longer the prompt gets, it just starts forgetting to do it and it doesn't do it as
yeah,
well. But if you keep them
yeah, because
short,
has a limited memory. So shorter and more precise is much much better. So yeah, like digging into the grammatical aspect, and being like, oh, use personal pronouns. Here's an example, short sentence, and
mhm.
then instead of being like trying to explain it all, it's definitely more helpful for getting good output. Sorry, I think we got off track from the question.
No,
No,
I think
good
that was
stuff,
it.
really. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Uh, so before we kind of start to wrap everything up, are there any more little juicy prompting tips you can give us that's not spilling too much of the beans from your course?
Yeah, it's hard to say off the top of my head. I I I like direct prompts. I like short prompts. I like prompting um, for short sections, and
Hmm.
that's really important. Is to improve to get the more precision from your output, doing um, going section by section. Um, what else?
Are you
Um,
using only GPT-4? Do you use 3.5 for anything, or do you use Playground or ChatGPT or what?
I use ChatGPT 4 normally.
Hmm.
I also use the playground. When it can be helpful to be more precise as well because when you're using the playground, you can see like all of your prompts like you can in a ChatGPT thread, but then
Hmm.
you can go and delete some of them, you know. So to make your future output more accurate. So if you don't want it to do something that it is doing because you're prompting a different section, you can go back and just delete like some of the previous prompts that told it to do something different. So that can be helpful in the playground. But I think ChatGPT 4 is great. I don't have to worry about the costs accruing. It's $20 a month.
Yeah.
The quality is pretty good, and yeah, it's simple. You got some helpful plugins, and so yeah, it's cool.
Have you
Now,
seen any of these like crazy prompts? And what I mean by crazy prompt is not just a long prompt, but people have like figured out how to do all this wild shit where
Yeah.
they're prompting with like code almost. I don't even know what you call it. It's like something that only it understands, I think. I don't even know what it is. I've got some of it like saved in my little notes over here or whatever. But do you use any stuff like that, or is it basic like human kind of like prompts that anyone that knows how to write could do?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of those long prompts, and like I think they're extremely impressive. You know, just because it's like kind of like a spectacle. You're like, oh, just copy and paste this into the Chat GPT, and like
Hmm.
look at all this cool stuff that's gonna happen.
Hmm.
Um, but I think good prompting, um, anyone can do it. It's about language. That's all. And I've tried some of these crazy, super long, super detailed prompts where you put it in, and then ChatGPT asks you a question, and you respond, and then it triggers another prompt, and then this and
Hmm.
that. But then in the output is like I'm just like I don't know. Like the output is not blowing my mind. Like
Yeah.
it's really cool that that prompt triggered all that activity, but the output is just pretty standard ChatGPT output, which makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of one of these things where I forget the saying, miss the forest for the trees, something like that. But anyway, basically, people are spending a lot of time like with these crazy prompts, and they are cool, like you said. Especially some of the, like the more advanced ones are definitely cool. But then it's like when it comes to the output, then you're just like, bro, I could do this. I could do
Okay.
that with like, a couple lines of like normal English without all this like crazy crap that you've like figured out by studying their code or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's kind of
okay.
like a little magic trick, somebody's showing you
Yeah.
like a,
Yeah, for sure.
But the end result is sort of that wasn't,
It's a magic
worth the
trick, but
one
then they just
hour.
like pull like shit out of the hat.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
for
it's a
sure.
turd. Let's check it out. I
Yeah.
created
And
this with AI.
Ben, just to reiterate for the listeners out there, and now in your course, you do this all over the shoulder, right? Which I imagine would be very valuable to a lot of people, looking to use AI for content.
yeah. So you'll see my process. There's a series of slides where I describe what to do, and then I give you the prompts, and kind of spell it out in detail, and
Nice.
then I show you me actually doing each step, prompting the outline, the first draft of the AI, the final draft of the AI, doing all the notes, highlighting the document, and then doing the human edits, and then I pass it through. I even go and pass it through AI content detection scanners to show you like, okay, this is producing human content, and so you get to see it all.
For sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I think over the shoulder courses are definitely my much preferred way
For
of doing
sure.
a course. Like in the old OMG machines, Greg Morrison
Yeah.
used to do those. I forget what he would call them, but they had like a name.
Treasure maps.
Treasure map, yeah, where
Yeah,
he'd
they
actually
were
show
always
like
my favorite.
super over the shoulder, like this is exactly how I'm doing it, and yeah, it just ends up
Mm-hmm.
being a lot more helpful than just like kind of telling people how to do it, but not actually showing it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why like when I was talking about the steps here, I'm like, that's one of the reasons I made this course because I'm like, I can't. It's hard to explain it
mhm.
um, if you're not like, okay, here's the prompt, oh, here's the output, oh, here's the notes, here's this. Like explaining it is not very effective, but that's why I tried to make it more effective in the course. So
Awesome. Um, One last thing about prompts before we kind of wrap things up. Um, so yeah, we were talking about all these crazy prompts and blah blah blah. All your prompts, did you develop them all yourself as just kind of a non-coder? I mean, you're just a writer, right?
yeah.
Or did you kind of like borrow kind of like advanced prompting from anywhere else? I guess what I'm getting at is like, again, this kind of question, like, can anyone with a brain that knows how, learns like, how to write properly, can they create these prompts? Or do you need to be like some super duper prompt engineer at this point?
No, no, I am not a super duper prompt engineer. That's 100% for sure. But the most I would say, there's a lot of resources out there that you can read about prompting. I would say that a lot of them are. There's a good number of them that are bullshit because people are trying to.
It's
Uh,
content.
it's content, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's content. Um, but the best way to learn about prompting is to use the AI to create content. Um, because if you have a standard of content that that you that you expect, that you like, and you have a standard of like, well, this is, if it takes me 4 hours to write an article, then I'm using AI. I would like to be able to write an article in 2 hours. Like you put those constraints on yourself in terms of quality and time, and like you're like, I'm going to use the AI to write content. I'm going to figure this out. Like you will figure out the prompts that work best for you for the type of content that you're creating,
Hmm.
and for the output that you want. And so that's how I developed my prompts, which my prompts are very basic. They're very, very simple. But again, you don't have to know anything about code really. It's all about language, 100% about language. Um, and I'm hoping to create better prompts, continuously improve my prompting over time. But yeah, anyone can do it. You just like anything else, you go in there and you keep trying until the AI is putting out the content that you're happy with, that improves your processes, and those are the prompts that you save. You know?
Sure. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got other courses out there as far as just writing goes, copywriting and stuff like that. Is that correct?
This course, this AI editing course, is like my first um, solo course.
Hmm.
But I have, as I said, like I contributed to um, some stuff for the lab with Kevin Meng,
Hmm.
because we work together very often. Um, and yeah, we're working on some new AI related stuff as well, course wise, which will hopefully be more product sales related stuff. Um, with AI. So that's exciting, but in early stages.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and I have consultation packages and things here and there. But yeah, this is my first solo course. So
Okay.
feel free to take the course and then complain as much as possible. Give me lots of feedback. Tell me everything I did wrong, so the next one will be better.
For sure. But yeah, I was asking just because, I was just by what you were saying, your answer to the last question, um, basically you don't need any crazy like prompting knowledge. You basically just need writing knowledge. So I was gonna plug any other course you had on writing because, it seems what people really need to learn is how to write. And when you
Yeah,
can learn how to write, then you actually know the words to use to prompt. Because like
yeah,
I think a lot of SEOs, we're not writing experts, so you don't actually know how to prompt it to get what you want. We don't have the language in our vocabulary. Like we don't know what things are called and how to get it to do certain stuff,
yeah,
maybe as well as a writer does. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
maybe, sorry,
You're
go ahead.
exactly right about that. You're exactly right. And that's why I don't want people to be disillusioned about this course. This course is a short course. It's like just over an hour long. And it teaches the process of copy editing with AI. It doesn't teach you how to write good copy. But the benefit for people like, who site owners, affiliates, SEOs who have writers, or who have a staff or something like that, is they can watch this, understand the processes, because understanding the processes doesn't require you to understand good content, but you can implement those processes with your writing staff because your writers hopefully do understand. Um, but in the future, hopefully there will be a more comprehensive course about that combines this stuff with actual copywriting best practices.
Hmm.
I need to do more research and figure out the bit more with a bit more precision, like pinpointing, oh, these are the things that AI does well,
Hmm.
and these are the things that it can't do. And then I'll be able to dig more into that in a way that people who don't understand content can
Hmm.
grasp. So pay attention to that maybe in the future, or buy my course so you can fund my research, and then yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Copywriting in the age of AI.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be a good, a little bit of a bigger project for you down the line. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. What are your plans for the next year or so? What are you gonna be working on? What are you excited about?
Well, yeah. Well, for this year, working on Boom Rabbit at boomrabbit.com.
Hmm.
Trying to get that out. We're doing beta testing at the moment. Um, and yeah, focusing on um, the the next steps for a next course, and gonna go to CM Chiang Mai SEO
Oh, yeah, see you
in
there. We'll
November.
see you
I'll
there
see
for
you
sure.
there. Yeah.
You got your tickets? Nice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, Yeah, so a lot more AI stuff, focusing on creating more content related to AI, posting, on my Facebook groups, and, kind of helping people. I'm hoping to do some more consulting on helping people to develop content writing SOPs and documentation based on AI with their teams. and also helping transition writers who are hurting right now into effective AI copy editors. So that's also something that I'm
Hey, you're doing the
interested in.
world a favor with that
cool.
one.
Yeah.
That's what we need. You know, you can create an army of these guys,
Yeah.
have them flooding Upwork and Fiverr and whatnot in no time. Then we won't have any problems finding them. They'll already know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Hey,
Create an army.
we should crowdfund that. You can write the copy for a crowdfunding page for that, and we'll. I would feel like that's a worthy project
Yeah. I would definitely use that service.
People would invest in that.
for sure. Yeah. So, anything else you want to plug before we leave, or where can people find you? All that good stuff.
Well, I would say, yeah, the course, AICopyCrashCourse.com, boomrabbit.com. People can find me on LinkedIn, Benjamin Gorman. Can find me on Upwork. And my consultation package is available on Upwork. And then I have a couple of Facebook groups, one for people who took the course and one for people who are trying to improve their content, but who aren't content writers. So I can give you guys those links, and then you can like.
Awesome. Yeah, we can drop them in the video. All right. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been good catching up with you again, and I guess we'll probably see you next in Chiang Mai, if not before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Party
If
time.
you guys are in Prague, let me know. Other than
For
that, see
sure.
you in. Yeah.
Yep. Prepare your
Sounds
liver.
good.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to check the links below for more info on this topic, as well as other cool stuff like SEO case studies, our Facebook community, and our link building services. And like always, please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks, and happy ranking.